In the darkness of the war, a mysterious man operates quietly, concealing within him thousands of secrets and perilous missions. That man is Pham Xuan An, a perfect spy, known as X-16, the shadow of the CIA. He commands a battle without gunfire. Here is the life of Spy Pham Xuan An, the top spy in Vietnam during its most tumultuous years. Pham Xuan An was born in 1927 in Binh Truoc Commune, Bien Hoa, Dong Nai Province, into a family of high-ranking colonial government officials. His ancestral homeland is in Hai Duong. His family moved to live in Hue when his grandfather, a master goldsmith, was called to the capital to craft gold and silver items for the royal court. His grandfather was the principal of a girls' school in Hue, bestowed with a Kim Khan title by the king. His father was a senior civil engineer at the Department of Civil Engineering, conducting surveying work throughout the South. From a young age, Pham Xuan An was aware of the nation's tumultuous destiny, being half colonial, half feudal. Perhaps that's why from his youth, he harbored the ideal of fighting for independence for the nation. In 1945, he joined the Viet Minh immediately after the success of the August Revolution. Pham Xuan An's first intelligence mission began in 1950, with a simple task of investigating the transportation of goods, military equipment, and troops from France to Vietnam. He was also part of the intelligence team of up to 14,000 people embedded by the revolutionary government in South Vietnam during this time. From then on, Pham Xuan An was living two lives, both very real. So how did he manage to outmaneuver the CIA and the dense network of American spies? After studying journalism in the United States, Pham Xuan An returned to Vietnam. By the late 1950s, many intelligence networks of the Viet Cong had been uncovered, and many officials were arrested. And worried that he had been exposed, so for a while, he stayed home to avoid being captured. Later, he devised a way to investigate whether he had been compromised. He wrote a letter to Tran Kim Tuen, someone he knew and who was leading the security and intelligence sector under the No Din Diem regime, asking for a job referral. And wrote, "I have just completed a journalism course in the United States and have returned home, currently in need of a job. Could you arrange something for me?" This was an extremely wise move by the young intelligence officer, as the head of the Southern Counterintelligence Organization at that time, Tran Kim Tuen, had a long list of Northern spies planted within it. If Mr. An's invitation were to be declined, it would mean the perfect cover of Agent X6 would be compromised, his identity would have been discovered. However, Tran Kim Tuen introduced into work at the presidential palace of No Din Diem. Sometime later, Tuen introduced into Viet Thanh XA, the official press agency of the No Din Diem regime. Here, and met Nguyen Thai, who had also studied journalism in the US and was the Director General of Viet Thanh XA at that time. Impressed by An, Nguyen Thai immediately hired him. In the book The Perfect Spy, Nguyen Thai commented, "Pham Xuan An is the first employee of Viet Thanh XA trained in journalism in the US and is fluent in English. Moreover, I need such a skilled journalist to report from the president's office because it is a very sensitive task." I found Pham Xuan An very knowledgeable and well-connected. He seemed to know all the important figures in South Vietnam, but he never boasted about it. His witty mind and sense of humor made him someone everyone liked. Working for Viet Thanh XA, Pham Xuan An became a teacher for the espionage training class organized by Tran Kim Tuen. Tuen planned to use Viet Thanh XA as a cover for his agents of the No Din Diem regime to operate abroad. Tuen instructed Nguyen Thai to conduct short-term journalism training courses for his agents before they were sent to New Delhi, Jakarta, and Cairo for espionage activities. Nguyen Thai initially rejected this directive, but after Tuen claimed it was an order from No Din Nu, Nguyen Thai had to accept it. Thai assigned this task to Pham Xuan An because he not only had graduated from journalism school in the US, but also had a good relationship with Tran Kim Tuen. It is unclear how long the training class lasted, But when Pham Xuan An noticed that Tran Kim Tuan's agents were not taking their studies seriously, he went straight to see Tran Kim Tuan to raise his concerns. He said, "You see, I cannot teach your people anymore until you order them to understand the importance of having a cover. Because they will be caught immediately if they cannot master this profession. They need to grasp the details of writing and sending news, interviewing techniques, and building sources. If they fail to learn these things, they will undoubtedly be caught, and then you will also encounter trouble." After that meeting, Tran Kim Tuan's agents returned to their journalism training with a more serious attitude towards their cover profession. In the 1960s, An was a prominent journalist in Saigon. Few earned as much as $750 a month like him. Moreover, his stature was reflected in his extensive connections, from the presidential palace to the general staff of the Saigon government. Many high-ranking figures in the Saigon government, such as Tran Kim Tuan, Du Mao, Du Chao Tri, and Tun That Din, all had close relationships with him, often inviting him to their homes at any time. In the book Pham Xuan An, The Name of a Man, An recounted a visit to Tran Kim Tuan's house where many ministers brought gifts to offer. Seeing many water lilies, he remarked, "There are so many here, but my house doesn't have any." As he said this, he grabbed a handful. One minister, noticing his action, asked Tuan's wife, "Who is this guy?" To which Tuan's wife laughed and replied, "Oh, An is just a journalist." Those who provided information to Pham Xuan An were very confident because he was always loyal to the journalistic principle of protecting his sources to the end. On the occasion of reporting on the inauguration of the U.S. Ambassador Nolting's Tan Son Not runway, An had a photocopy of Nolting's speech and he sent it to Reuters. Surprisingly, when Nolting heard the report from Reuters, he found that some sentences had been omitted. He was furious, suspecting that Reuters had a mole in the embassy, and demanded an investigation. The relationship between journalism and espionage, as An described, was highly contradictory. On one hand, journalists would report any news they got to the world, while on the other hand, spies would evaluate, analyze, and keep the information hidden. Nevertheless, they both agreed on the common goal of seeking information, and Pham Xuan An perfectly combined these two professions. His sources were often from various circles, the media, intelligence agencies, enemy security forces. They also needed information. To obtain information from them, there needed to be a give-and-take relationship. And said, their food is information, documents. Like a bird needs constant feeding to sing. Economists need economic news. Only public news. When playing the stock market, sometimes they don't know whether to sell or not. They seek advice from me because I can analyze the signs of the times that may affect them. For example, in 1973, the U.S. stock market crashed badly. The U.S. faced heavy inflation. When they asked for my opinion, I took a short time to refer and comment so they could decide for themselves. For instance, that inflation hasn't reached that point yet. There's still a possibility of going up. Even military leaders are businessmen, so they care. Conversely, they would help him with the information he needed about military activities, plans, which they thought he needed to analyze the situation to serve his journalism. Sometimes, through the information they asked for advice on, they inadvertently revealed other events. This was a characteristic only seen in a skilled journalist who also worked as an intelligence operative like Pham Xuan An. Observation and judgment were important skills for a journalist. Pham Xuan An appeared to be very observant and sensitive in his judgments. When Ambassador Nolting was about to be recalled, the Diem regime tried to keep it secret, and the embassy also kept the information under wraps. One evening, sitting at a French restaurant named La Cigale, he spotted one of Nolting's secretaries bringing a Vietnamese girlfriend into the restaurant. A security officer from the embassy saw them and asked him, "Why are you dressed so sloppily today and even brought a girl along?" The secretary replied, "Next week, I'm going back home, so I need to relax. Based on this, along with information he had heard before, Pham Xuan An concluded that Nolting would be returning home the following week. His report on Reuters caused quite a stir at the US Embassy. Once again, Pham Xuan An's head was spinning. Although he didn't express it, perhaps those pieces of information, along with his analytical assessments, had been sent to the military zone to help superiors understand the political situation in Saigon as well as the Vietnam-US relations at that time. Pham Xuan An did not write memoirs to detail his life's activities. However, with a few anecdotes, we can somewhat understand the secret to his success, which is truly immersing himself in the journalism profession. As he summed up, being undercover is not about having a shell, it's not about pretending or disguising externally. It's about truly living by that profession in a clean manner. Only by living the profession to the fullest can one hope to understand everything. Especially, to disguise himself, General Pham Xuan An tried to portray himself as a socialite and fashionable playboy, frequenting various nightclubs and upscale restaurants. From there, Pham Xuan An gained trust, expanded his network, and gathered information. Through the declassified documents of the CIA and those from Vietnam later on, it can be observed that An had an extremely wide network of contacts in Saigon during his tenure as a correspondent for major newspapers worldwide. His network included most key figures in both the civilian government and the military of Saigon at the time, and these relationships greatly aided him in carrying out his missions. An's sources worked in many key agencies of the Saigon government and military. It's not surprising that he could access classified documents and even receive highly important documents from high-ranking military officers in Saigon for consultation and influence, all of which are meticulously documented and transmitted to the Central Office for South Vietnam via the H-63 network, before forwarding them to the Central Committee of the party in Hanoi. An's information was vivid, accurate, and detailed to the extent that upon receiving it, our leaders concluded, "We are inside the American headquarters." Specifically, Brigadier General Pham Xuan An sent a total of 498 reports and original documents, photocopies, and gathered information about the situation of the fake US troops, including some extremely important information. During the period from 1961 until the complete liberation of the South, An's intelligence efforts contributed significantly to thwarting US strategic plans, including highly important plans such as the Special War Strategy, the Hamlet Strategy, and even the verbatim document of the Staley-Taylor Plan from the US. It was An who, in 1963, after the No Din Diem brothers were overthrown, affirmed that the US had not stopped its hand in Vietnam, despite many of his superiors thinking otherwise. It wasn't until 1965 that the US officially announced a further escalation of aid to South Vietnam. And was so confident because he understood the Americans better than anyone else. Especially, when entering the period from 1972 to 1975, Pham Xuan An firmly believed that the time to overthrow the indulgent Saigon regime had come. He analyzed based on many factors and concluded that this was the time to end the war. As An reported, in April 1975, the Great Patriotic War achieved complete victory. Pham Xuan An made significant contributions to the Tet Offensive in 1968, as his intelligence helped plan attacks on key American targets in Saigon. Having lived in Saigon for decades, and had a deep understanding of the city, surpassing many Liberation Army generals, and he executed his tasks excellently. In the final years of the war, An asserted that the United States would never send troops back to South Vietnam. With his credibility, the undercover Spy X6 codename bolstered Hanoi's determination to conduct the Ho Chi Minh campaign to fully liberate the South and reunify the country. In 1990, Colonel Pham Xuan An was promoted to Brigadier General. His dual life concluded after the end of the Vietnam War, but the world media continued to write extensively about the life of this perfect spy and accomplished journalist. and was a person of utmost integrity in both journalism and espionage. Until the end of his life, he never revealed any of his sources, ensuring their secrecy even after his passing. After retiring in 2002, he served as a senior advisor to the military intelligence forces, providing commentary, evaluation, and analysis of collected intelligence documents. However, all lives have their farewells. On September 20th, 2006, at 11:20 a.m., Brigadier General Pham Xuan An passed away at Military Hospital 175 in Ho Chi Minh City after a period of severe illness, at the age of 80. The life of Pham Xuan An came to an end in 2006, but the legend of a perfect spy continues to live on in the hearts of the Vietnamese people. Without the sound of gunfire or bombs, he accurately represents courage and intelligence, embodying the pride of a nation fighting for freedom and independence. There is still much more to be said about this perfect spy. Are you curious about the life of X-16 and what other interesting things there might be? Leave your thoughts in the comments below.